All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the A Journey for Professionals, or Journey with HR Professionals series hosted by the Fort Worth HR chapter. My name is Kenya Wilson, and I'm coming to you from Tarrant County College Connect campus, where I serve as a faculty member teaching human resources management courses. I also have a background in talent development and staff development. And I'm excited to speak with, bring another professional with you all today, speaking with Erin Humphries, who will tell you a bit about herself so we can kind of explore her journey within the HR profession and see what insight that she has for all listeners today. So thank you so much, Erin, for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Kenya. So as you mentioned, my name is Erin Humphries. My pronouns are she and her. My experience, I started in retail. Gosh, I feel like I've been in retail my whole life, essentially. But so really what I am is an HR generalist. So I started out working with a training program and then kind of moved into all of the interviewing, hiring, onboarding, and training of all new employees for a retailer that has about 5 locations. So I have really enjoyed my time with that. I have gradually moved into more human resource things behind the scenes, working with the Texas Workforce Commission, especially during the pandemic and dealing with COVID planning.
Yes.
Generalist is the best thing that I can say.
Absolutely. Well, that is awesome. Thank you for introducing yourself and giving us a bit of insight in who you are. And we're going to get a bit deeper in your business as it relates to your career. So
Sure.
my first question for you, you kind of mentioned it briefly, and we know that many professionals either they kind of fall into the field in many different and a myriad of ways. So how and where did you get your start in the human resources field? And I know you kind of talked on it briefly. So if you can describe that and what that looks like for you.
Sure. So I am very much one of those people who fell into human resources and then really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
My degree is in essentially political science. I have a degree in government with an emphasis in politics from Texas Women's University in Denton.
Okay.
And that does not immediately scream HR.
Right.
I graduated college in 2018 and I decided, you know what, I'm going to leave my current position. I need to find like my big grown up job, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that may be. And
Mm-hmm.
my employer came to me and said, hold on just a minute. And
Mm-hmm.
my employer kind of allowed me to create my own position. So like I said, it started with, we need somebody to take over our entire training program and you're incredibly well educated, which I mean, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And they really wanted me to take on that training program, redevelop it, and become like this trainer. And then it got more into, okay, but also the handbook needs updating, write some policy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and also could you do all of the interviewing, all of the hiring, all of the onboarding, and making sure that people come into the company with this really great cultural attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And it just grew and grew from there. So, I mean, I started as a part-time sales associate and ended up with an executive position.
That's awesome. That is a common story. My story is a bit similar. I started in mental health, undergrad psychology, and it started with training, developing training for a new position and processes. So that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
let's move on to our next question. So what do you find, especially today, right? As we know that things continuously change and HR can be somewhat predictable. I think some people have a different view of it, but I mean, things are always changing, laws are always changing. So and that presents challenges. So what do you find most challenging about being in the industry, about being in HR?
So, I'm a little different. As somebody with a really quick nature who really loves puzzles, the constant changing
Mhm.
of laws and enforcement of laws fascinates me.
Mhm.
I'm all for it. Bring it on. Give me more. COVID was,
Mhm.
I mean, it's still ongoing. So, but
Right.
the beginning of COVID was both a nightmare and terrifying and also very exciting for me because I got to
Mhm.
learn so many things. And as somebody who, sees himself as a lifelong learner, that was
Mhm.
important to me. So I'm a
Yes.
little different. I would say that the hardest thing for me personally about being in HR is being the bearer of bad news.
Yes.
So for a lot of companies, HR is the person that is the reality check. It's the no, we
Mhm.
can't do this, or, so-and-so's performance is concerning. That's the role that we end up in. And
Absolutely.
being the bearer of bad news is really hard. Nobody enjoys terminating an employee, much to, I mean, not that anybody would think that, but
Right.
HR gets a
Right.
bad rap. HR gets a bad rap.
Yes. I agree. It's always HR's fault.
Right. And what people don't realize, especially like you and I, when we're in the talent development portion,
Mhm.
it's really tough because you love these people, you think they're great
Yes.
people, they may just not be in the right role. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, I would say that being the bearer of bad news is really the hardest thing for me.
Absolutely. I definitely agree, especially when you deal with those challenging situations where you have to enforce maybe some corrective actions or even follow through to termination. I mean, it breaks my heart because I always want to see people win. So thank you.
Right. I grew up on Disney movies. I'm not here to push.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Erin.
You're welcome.
So again, we talked about changes and trends, and that leads to the importance of staying current, right, in the
Mhm.
industry and what's happening, so that we know that we make sure that we're current ourselves, but to the people and the organizations that we're serving, that we are also doing a service to them to help them stay on top of current trends to help them remain competitive. So, what do you do personally to stay on top of the trends and ever consistent changes in HR?
I have an unfortunately long answer for this.
Okay,
Um,
take the time you need.
there are a lot of things that I do. So, in addition to what you would expect, which is like keeping up with newsletters from the Department of Labor and Statistics and
Mhm.
keeping up with newsletters from Texas Workforce Commission, I also have to say that like joining organizations like Fort Worth HR and attending HR Southwest last year, the conference, oh
Mhm.
my God, that has helped me follow so many local leaders in human resources.
Yes, it was nice.
So much fun and so informative.
Mhm.
Other than that, I am always reading books. So I
Mhm.
love Powerful by Patty McCord,
Mhm.
who was the HR director that pretty much revolutionized Netflix. Uh,
Mhm.
and Originals by Adam Grant. Adam Grant is a professor at the Wharton School of Business, but he really specializes in like the development of people and why that's so important in business. Um,
Mhm.
so the books that I read are often this like blend of business and culture, and I really think that a lot of HR people can benefit for that because
Mhm.
we're really responsible for setting the tone of a company.
Absolutely.
If we're onboarding and we're interviewing, then we're the first people that our applicants and our employees ever meet.
Mhm.
We got to make sure that we're conscious of that and that we push for a better work environment and work culture for them. I'm also really enjoying seeing people like JT O'Donnell, who's a
Yes.
career coach. Yeah, so she's a career coach. She has about 15 years in HR before she moved into career coaching.
Mhm.
And she's building this huge following on apps like TikTok, which of course reaches the youths and also
Right.
them when I'm just scrolling.
Right. Right.
And her videos are such a great way to build people's interest in human resources and also educate them at the same time. And I love to see people engaging other platforms.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think that is great, especially you brought up the TikTok generation and how, communication and the way that we receive information is also changing. So that is great. And I'm glad to see more professionals taking advantage of those opportunities to continue to connect and stay current.
Right, absolutely. I think it's really important to embrace change. Gosh, in any career ever, of course, but in human resources,
Yes.
like you said earlier, it's constantly changing. So if we don't welcome it and embrace it and try new things, then we're going to get
Hmm.
left in the dust very quickly.
Yeah, it's changing because people are changing. And so we have to make sure that we're sensitive to that. Um, so as we think about all of the things that you talked about, how you got into the career and dealing with challenges and staying on top of the changes and the trends, what advice would you give to emerging professionals or those wanting to break into the profession? What are some of the things that stand out to you there, and that could be the do's and that can be the don'ts.
So one thing that I have to say is, so I have a really great friend who has her master's in human resources, and
Mm-hmm.
she is brilliant and wonderful. And it took her a year after finishing her master's degree to get a job. It took her forever, not because she wasn't experienced or wonderful or great. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that a lot of jobs have this listing of like, I want 3 years of experience for an entry level HR generalist, which
Mm-hmm.
can be really intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very defeating to see that. So I remember when I got my position, she was both extremely happy for me and incredibly angry.
Yeah.
She was like, "How dare you
I've
trip
been
and
there.
fall like
I've
into the
been
career
there.
that I love and want, and you just it happened to you."
Yeah. Right. Right.
And I remember what that was like for her was very frustrating. So the thing that helped her though was looking at her previous positions and finding the HR skills in them. So
Mm-hmm.
position asks you for 3 years of experience and you say, oh, well, I don't have any experience with that. I mean, I was an assistant manager at the Dairy Queen, but I didn't do any HR. First of all, you're kidding
You
yourself.
did.
Like,
Right. Right.
honey, I have news.
Right.
You absolutely did some human resource admin.
Absolutely.
And so it's all about finding those things like, scheduling and time management and people management. That very much falls into human resources because
Mm-hmm.
you're managing humans. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with terminations, corrective actions, hiring, all of those are human resources things, even if an HR person isn't handling them.
Right.
So remembering that you have these skills and marketing those skills is really, really important. I would also really highly recommend joining a local HR group. I
Mm-hmm.
promise you, they exist. There is a chapter of SHRM or another HR facilitation group in your city. I promise. Um,
Absolutely.
so joining that is really important because you will network and you'll make lots of friends who want to help you find the right spot to land, because most of us in HR just really want to help people. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've definitely found is that, it's an immediate friendship. It's, oh my gosh, did you see this posting? Are you interested? Let me
Mm-hmm.
send it to you. And that's awesome. Uh,
Yes.
the other thing that I would say is consider a certification program like those from SHRM or HRCI. If
Mm-hmm.
you're really worried about not having experience, HRCI specifically offers an associate professional in HR, which is a certification designed for beginners. It's designed
Mm-hmm.
for people that may not have the professional experience required to do a higher level certification, which allows you to kind of get your foot in the door. And also, it gives you the chance to go through a lot of HR things and go, oh, this is for me, or maybe it's not.
Absolutely.
I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Plus, it gives you that boost of experience. So somebody says, "Oh, well, Erin over here, she applied, but she doesn't have any like technical HR experience, but she did do her APHR. Like,
Yes.
that's pretty great."
Yes, absolutely. So I have a question because you mentioned the importance of certifications, which I completely agree. Um, I get a lot of questions from my students because like, as I said, I was a instructor of human resources management at the college. And so one question I frequently get, and I would like to hear your feedback on this, is what do I do? Do I take the SHRM or the PHR, the SPHR? Which one do I choose? And so what are your thoughts about that?
I think that different certifications have different benefits. I
Mm-hmm.
personally lean more towards HRCI's programs just because first of all, they've been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
They have that long-standing background. They have tons of educational opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
lots of prep materials, and lots of prep courses. Not that
Mm-hmm.
SHRM doesn't also have that, but they don't have the longevity, and it's a little harder to get that certification. So I know, weirdly enough, a couple of years ago, I had a roommate who she took her SHRM
Mm-hmm.
licensing certification. Sorry. So
Mm-hmm.
she was doing her certification through SHRM. Her prep class was very expensive. They did not
Mm-hmm.
offer her any kind of assistance with that. And then the information was so difficult and was presented to her in her prep course that it was going to be so difficult that she should expect to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love like that negative ideology personally. I
Mm-hmm.
don't love, don't get me wrong, I think that it's important to be knowledgeable and I think it's important to be challenged. But
Mm-hmm.
if you are setting up a program that is so difficult that you have a high enough failure rate that you have educators that are telling people expect to fail, expect not to do well, that's
Mm-hmm.
really problematic to me, because that says to me that either an educator is not doing their job
Mm-hmm.
or that the program maybe needs to be looked at.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so when I look at those certifications, I look at, well, what is going to benefit me the most? Do I need
Mhm.
more experience here or do I need more experience here?
Mhm.
One thing I will say with SHRM is that you do have to have several years of experience with HR jobs, and they ask you to list those and then
Yes.
verify those, which is okay. And don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, higher level certifications through HRCI do as well. Um,
Mhm.
but there's not a lower level option. There's not a baseline. Give me some experience so I know if this is what I want to do. Kind of
Mhm.
certification offer through them.
Mhm.
Um, Other than that, from my understanding, and I could be completely off base here. Please
Mhm.
correct me if I'm
Okay.
wrong. It's kind of six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. You do which one works for you on your
Yes.
schedule and your experience level.
Absolutely. I think that's correct. And I think that's what made me, so I initially got the SHRM certification. And it really boiled down to my role, my current role, and where that certification fit. I think definitely as a professional now, I will absolutely seek the additional certification from HRCI
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of professionals I know they have both, but SHRM fit with my role and the current task that I'm performing, which are more consultative and management related. And so I just felt like that was the best fit for me. But I know most industry professionals will say it really just depends on what you're doing, what your goals are, and what the organizations that you may be wanting to work for or currently work for, what they're asking for. So I just like to hear, and I hope I don't get in trouble for asking that question, but I just like to hear um, the different perspectives on that question because I get it all of the time from students. Well, which one do I do? So that's helpful.
I hope I also don't get in trouble for my question. I'm not saying that it's not a wonderful program. It's incredible. It's great.
Yes.
I like I said, it just depends on which one fits for you and what fits your current role, what fits your budget, your time, and
Yes.
what makes the most sense. And like for me personally, like I said, HRCI was the one that I was like, hey, that one seems to fit
Mm-hmm.
way more of what I already do. Um,
Absolutely.
and so it made more sense to me. And then as far as that's concerned, I have to say, I love the SHRM chapters. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot express how cool the chapters are and how much I
Yes.
encourage people to join them because they're
Mm-hmm.
like these little tiny mini subgroups of like larger local groups. And
Mm-hmm.
it gives you a really, really great chance and opportunity to not only keep up on your certification credits, but also meet other professionals who are interested in the same things that you're interested in, and build this network of, I have a weird question. I'm just going to give Kenya a call really quick.
Right.
I'm going to call her because she seems knowledgeable. I know she's dealt with this before. I'm just going to reach out. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. I think both organizations are awesome and really supportive for professionals. So that I think that's good dialogue. However, so thank you so much for answering that. So I think that concludes our interview. And I want to thank you again for being able to meet with me today and kind of share your experiences and your insight and your feedback, which I know will be helpful to Fort Worth HR and the emerging professionals and anyone else who has a chance to watch it. And I hope they will. As I plan to go through and look at all of the interviews as well. But I think I'm glad we got a chance to connect. Please, if you would, share forward with me any of the resources. You mentioned 2 books that you've read, so I would like to check those out. But thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Um, I don't think I do. I mean, gosh, I have lots of thoughts, but do they really?
Yes.
No. I do want to say thank you. I was very flattered to hear from Fort Worth HR and to be sought out as a member. I thought it was really, really great. And so I have really enjoyed interacting with you and with Kara.
Mhm.
It's been a really wonderful experience. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
All right.